Welcome back. I'm Gary Parr.
And I'm Christine Williams.
And you're listening to the midweek version of Fiber Talk, that twice-weekly podcast for people who play with needles.
And thread.
And we're both playing sick today.
We are. Well, I'm not playing. I'm actually sick.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm for real. Yep. Yeah, we've done these where one or the other of us has been sick, but never both together. So this is kind of a special moment. In a way.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yep. I was to Germany last week. That's part of the reason I got so sick, was I got so tired because I can't sleep when I go overseas, and then it all catches up. And my voice sounds weird because I have a great big cough drop in my mouth. So sorry about that. So anyway, I stitched most of the way over. Then you're supposed to try and sleep, but that never happens.
No.
Yeah, you kind of doze off and yeah, whatever. And then when I got on the plane to come home, nice little 8+ hour trip, we got in the air. I broke out the lap stand and the stitching. And other than a couple of 15-minute doze-offs, I stitched the whole way. It was very, very cool. I had a bulkhead seat in economy premium, which means I had a little more. Well, in the bulkhead, I had plenty of leg room, and the flight was only about half full. So it was a bulkhead seat with only one seat next to me, and nobody in that seat. So I just made a little nest right there at the bulkhead. And had, whenever they bought food and drink, that went over to the tray on the next seat. And I just sat there and just stitched away with the headphones on, and nobody could get to me. It was wonderful.
That's perfect.
Yep. But it was weird because I just started, I just put the headphones on and went at it. And one of the flight attendants came up, and it was the weirdest reaction because she says, "Oh, that thing is really beautiful." And I was stitching Debbie Rowley's Glitz and Glamour Opal.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures of it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm anxious. No, I'll tell you about that in a minute. But so the first flight attendant comes up. She says, "Oh, that's really beautiful. Are you going to sell that?" I mean, she didn't even flinch. It was just, "Are you going to sell that?"
Uh-huh.
And I said, "No." No. I said, "No, I could never get the money out of it for the time that goes into this. So no." And after she looked at it a little bit longer and left, I thought, what a weird reaction. Does everything have to deal with some exchange of money? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I don't even know if that's what it was really about. I think people look at it and it's something precious. Maybe we just don't think of it that way, but other people might.
Yeah.
I
just thought it just struck me as weird. Okay, it's an object that I'm making. Why does that immediately have to be a question of whether it's saleable?
Okay, here, I'll ask another question. If you were a woman, would she have asked the same question?
I don't know.
Right?
You're of the female type. What would your reaction be if she had asked you that?
It would have been the truth, which would have been no. But I'm wondering if she would have asked that of a woman, you know what I mean? Because just because women it's just it's not that it's common, but it's more common to see a woman stitching and just as a hobby or, to pass the time, that it wouldn't be on, it's just something you would see. It's you see a grandmother stitching, and it's because, people like that, which that sounds weird to say, but, people stitch to give gifts, or, like my grandmother would stitch to, clothe us. She wouldn't stitch to sell it. Right. So I would never think to ask that question of a grandmother, but of a grandfather. I wonder if that's what the key in was for her. Not so much that it's a monetary thing, but more that it's because you're a guy. It immediately changed the script for her.
Okay, yeah. So it becomes, is there a business angle to this thing?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get at, I think.
Oh, wow, that's weird.
That maybe because you're a guy, it can't be that it's a hobby for you. You must be a designer or a business something or other kind of thing. You can't just be stitching to give to a loved one.
Now that's interesting. That had not occurred to me.
Like a guy that's cooking as a chef and a woman that's cooking as a mom.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. No, I see it now. Yeah. 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 Because the guy is automatically a chef, even if whether it's a hobby or not. It's a different connotation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. That's weird. Okay.
See, and here you are worried about people thinking that, there's something weird about you. And it's the opposite. It's that you're automatically getting a higher level of respect. People assume that you have that it's some business.
Wow. That's interesting.
I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I that would be my guess that's the assumption she was making.
Now I want to ask her because it was just an absolute reflex reaction. Are you going to sell that? And I just no, I'm not going to sell this. You got to be kidding me, lady. How many hours go into this stuff? No. And,
right.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. New perspective for me. Fascinating stuff.
Who knows? I don't know, but I wonder if that wasn't what was going through her head.
Well, it makes as much sense as anything.
Yeah.
And actually more sense, I think, than anything. Okay. All right. I'm going to have to chew on that one for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So then I think this was a big 777 international flight. So I think just about every flight attendant stopped by. And one lady stopped by and she said that she had heard that I was stitching. So apparently row G 22K it was, yes, 22K or 20K. 20K apparently was stitching, and that went around the crew. And so she came up. I had not seen her in the economy cabin, but she was passing out water. So she must have said, "I'll pass out water on this side so I can go see, see the freak show." And
here's the other thing too. This is the thing that we get lost in. It isn't the type of thing that I'll use the term lay people because I can't think of a better one because I'm sick. That non-stitchers and people that are not like hardcore hobbyists are used to seeing, right? So somebody that's not in deep into the hobby, when they think of stitchers, they think of like something like a shepherd's, what is it? Shepherd's hook, tell me the name of your shepherd's bush. Right. They think of, cross stitches and samplers and painted canvas or counted cross stitches type things, or like the old dimensions kits. Like they think of things that you would find in Michael's, things that are very commonplace, easy to see. They've never seen those, like a Debbie Rowley type of counted needlepoint thing ever. Because I remember when I first started getting back into stitching this type of thing, you showed them to me and you're like, you've missed out, because if you haven't been paying attention to this kind of thing, you have no idea. Take a look at this. And you were right. I had never seen those things. And until you're exposed to them by somebody that's into the hobby, you wouldn't know. So it must have been a spectacle because, what you were doing is so far removed from anything that a person not involved would see, that for them it wouldn't be anything. Like if you were stitching something that was like a country crafty kind of thing, I'm sure it wouldn't have been
a little teddy bear or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or like three cats sitting with their tails dangling over a fence, like that sort of thing. Nobody would have batted an eye, and they probably wouldn't have asked you that question. But that's such a graphic piece and very, it is the glitzy kind of piece. I could see them, asking that question because it doesn't look like your grandmother's stitchery.
Yeah. It's just the different perspectives we have.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Then the lady behind me, there was one lady, she had all three seats to herself. She had it nailed. And every now and then I could feel her kind of between the seats looking over my shoulder. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to scare her, but I could, you know how you can feel it. And as we're getting off the plane, she says, "That needlework you're doing is really beautiful." And well, thanks. So she'd been studying it a bit, but
yeah.
And it is boy, I tell you, I have really enjoyed this glitz and glamour thing. It's one of those where the picture,
it's stunning.
The picture just does not even come close.
Mm-hmm.
Not even come close to what this thing is. And it's just 5.5 inch square piece, but there's a lot going on in there, and it's really a nice challenge. I'm really enjoying it. So she has these beautiful elements in there. It's opal, so it's white based stuff, threads with lots of very pale and light blue over dyes of different kinds, and just hints of blue. And I'll be really curious to see when it all comes together, because the center has more blue to it. But she has these triplicate sets of like oval designs, and you lay down a field, an oval field of Rainbow Gallery ribbon. I forget what the what it is, but 16 inch wide ribbon that you lay down, and it actually overlaps when you do it. So you get this solid field of white sparkle, and then around that, in a blue overdyed silk, like a silk pearl, you stitch an oblong Jessica. And I got 2 of the 3 perfect. The other one is pretty close to perfect, but I yanked a couple threads a little tight, but I sure wasn't going to go back and fix them because they're close enough,
Mm-hmm.
But when I got done, I actually took it off the rack and took it upstairs to show Marga. The real camera with the macro lens is coming out for this one.
Yeah, good.
I gotta photograph this one element because it's just so beautiful. It's so delicate and just really beautifully put together. Debbie just did a fantastic job. And then there's a couple of other sections where just to take a segment of the piece and photograph that, I could see 2 or 3 shots in there. So the camera's coming out with the tripod and the cable release and the whole shooting match for this one, because I gotta capture a couple of these things. But it's, you look at that picture and it just doesn't show because there's so much texture. There's so many big road stitches and just so much texture in different threads that it really is a different kind of piece. And the colors are just so delicate, and they're not the colors I would normally choose by any stretch, but it was given to me as a kit. So it was all kitted up. So, hey, use what's there. It's just so beautiful and delicate. It really is something. I'm really enjoying it. So that's been my focus even since I got home now. I've just been pounding away at it. And, it's a real treat. So now it makes me curious about because the Glitz and Glamour series, the whole series of these.
Yeah. That's opal. There's a turquoise. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably a dozen. Is there a dozen? I don't know.
I don't know. There's quite a few.
So that's, this has just become one of those things where, all right, everything else gets set aside. I'm on a mission now. So, yeah. And I did learn one thing. Going over was probably one of the choppier flights I've ever been on anywhere. And then, of course, to be a 7+ hour flight over choppy, that got old. But doing 1/2 inch diameter Jessica stitches in choppy air, don't do it. Yeah. I got one done over the course of an hour. I had to pull it out a couple of times. And I got it done, and it was just, oh, seriously. So I just said, forget it. And when I got home here and got it on the rack, I just tore it apart and did it again. So
yeah,
choppy flight and needles in little holes is just not good. But yeah, this one's going to get some photography work here, I think. Yeah, got to see what I can do. Yeah, yep. Hey, I was poking around in Stitch Mania today, and I tripped over Katie Agruso. I think that's right. Is the administrator there at Stitch Mania. She has lists for birthdays and all kinds of things. I did not know she set up a list of all of the 2019 stitch-alongs that she knows about.
Oh, cool.
I did a rough cut, like just to scroll through, do a quick count. There are more than 150 stitch-alongs set up.
What?
Between now and the end of next year, there are more than 150 stitch-alongs already set up, and she's got them in there with links to the Facebook page or web page or whatever, so you can go join it. More than 150, and I'm not exaggerating, I counted them. So get stitching.
Really? That's a lot.
I know, I couldn't believe it. Especially, this is, I think our list starts sometime in November. And for that to be already that flushed out all the way through next year, people have set up starts for the second half of the year, a ton of them. So, yeah, if you're looking to do a stitch along, boy, you want to go to Stitch Mania. You have to be a member, just ask to join. But go to Stitch Mania and look up that list. It's amazing how many there are. It's another one of those. Is the needlework industry dying? No. Not even close. Not when that many are already set up all the way through next year. So,
right.
Yeah. So that got me thinking about, well, that, and then Michelle Bendy. That's right. I keep wanting to call her Michelle Garrett, but we're just going to go with Bendy. Bendy. Yeah. She's on this thing. I'm starting to find humor in it. First it was interesting. Now it's starting to find humor, where it's going to be, she's not going to do any starts in 2019. Okay. Now that's admirable.
That's a challenge.
Yeah. That's an admirable challenge. I give her that, but she kind of ruins it, I guess, or changes the game, because here in the last 2 months, it's like every 30 minutes she's starting a new project.
Aha. So she's loading the deck.
Right.
To start with. Right.
So, okay, I'm not going to start any, but I got 200 of them already set up. So, okay, Michelle, which is it,
She's like with me with my kitted designs, my work in progress, and my about to kit designs. Right. Yeah, I can appreciate that.
Yeah. So, and I think I'm going to put the under-over for when she starts one in 2019 when it breaks down. I think I'm going to put the over-under at May 1.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. So we're going to we should write this down on a Google Calendar, that we don't forget to check whether or not she stuck to her plan.
The over-under is May 1, and I'm taking the under.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. But that got me thinking, along with all these stitch-alongs, about, we see people all the time talking about, there's one lady who is not going to buy any painted canvases until 2020. And you get people, I'm not going to buy any more charts. You get this kind of stuff all the time. And so I wondered, you see that, and then people will break down. If you follow them, it'll be 2 months, and then they'll buy something because they see something they can't have. And I thought, that's it. At some point, it's kind of an interesting dynamic. And you see what people are trying to do. They go to their stash room, and they see this mountain of stuff. And what am I doing buying more? Common sense says, stop it. Just stop it. And by the way, Beth, I have not bought a book yet, just for the record. But then I thought, wait a minute, that's not so terrible. And is it part of the hobby? Is it part of, it's another challenge, another thing where I'm going to see how long I can go, and will I actually stitch the stuff I have? And this whole stash and buying stuff that you may not ever stitch is an interesting dynamic. And I couldn't help but think, maybe this is just part of the hobby. Maybe it's just part of the fun of the hobby.
I think for some people it is, yes. And I think that part of it is that we overestimate the amount of time that we're going to have. And I think it's, if we love it, and for me, this is what it is. We love it, and we see things that we like, and then we want to stitch, and we just don't have that many hours in the day to be able to stitch that many things.
Yeah.
I see things all the time that I want to stitch, and if I didn't have to work a job and feed my family, I would stitch all of them. But, so what I like to do is I'll put things intentionally away, like away, that I can't get to them, because then they become new again for me, right? So I still keep them. So that's part of it, is that you don't get bored of them because they're so far away So I stitch
okay.
the
I
ones
see
that I
that.
have.
Yeah. So you don't
Right?
even see them, out of sight, out of mind, and then they're
Yeah.
new. Okay.
Right. Right. So it's not like, oh well, I don't want to stitch that one, so I'm on the hunt for other things, so there will be ones that I look at and, I covet, and to a point I will avoid avoid the craving by not looking at things, and some things will come across, like the glitz and glamour one where I say, oh, that is really stunning. I would like to stitch it. But I will put things out of the way, and then, I'll come across them again like they're completely new, and then say, "Oh, that's right, I do have this to stitch." And then, I get excited about it, as opposed to something that if I see them all the time on my desk or my workspace, then they're familiar, and then I don't have that excitement for them. So it keeps them fresh for me. Or in my works in progress, if I put something away, I put it really away, like away out of sight, so that when I pick it up again, it isn't that thing that I have to finish. It's, wow, it's an old friend I haven't seen in a long time. I can't wait to start you again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that part helps too. And the pieces that I have going, I generally only have one of each kind of style, and the styles that I'm working in are so different that when I get sort of tired or bored or frustrated with one type, I put that away, like out of sight completely, and start something very, very different, so that my hands and my eyes can sort of have a rest.
Right.
And then when I get tired or bored with that, then I put that away, unless it's something that I feel like I have to finish, like I'm working on something for the holidays. So that sort of has a bit of a deadline. But the thing that I was working on before, which is a Debbie Rowley piece, which is extraordinarily challenging, that is just away out of sight, so that when I picked it up again, instead of feeling a little frustrated with it, it will be, wow, that really is beautiful. I can't wait to work on it again. So for me, the trick is, when it's away, it's really far away.
That's interesting. Yeah, I can see that. Well, we sound like a paid endorsement for Debbie Rowley. Oh well.
Well, it's well, you know why? Because those are the pieces that I have.
Right.
For the other one, I have, other ones that, again, for me, the trick is just keeping things far away. I don't keep things around. Or, then there's other times where, if I feel like I'm getting a little sort of burned out, I'll go through the stash and look at the things that I have sort of on the back burner, and it'll drive a little bit of excitement to pick something up again. So, it's sort of managing expectation a little bit.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. This is interesting. See, now you've given me another perspective, because I have Sarah Brazier and this Debbie Rowley that I'm working those back and forth, though right now it's all Debbie Rowley all the time. But I also have this basket, this little plastic basket, like, I don't know, 4x6 inch by 4 or 5 inch tall. And that's where I keep all the threads for projects I'm working on. And right now in there used to be just two sets of threads. Now there's like 4 or 5, because I've started something and it's kind of gotten shoved off to the corner. So now you got me thinking that I might go through that basket and pull out the threads for those things and put them in a bag and put them away, like you do. Yeah, and then it will be fresh. Rather than, oh yeah, those are the threads for this piece here, I should really work on that.
Yeah, because then it isn't a guilty thing of, like, it doesn't become that thing that it's not like my laundry basket that's sitting in the corner. Right. That I feel guilty that, oh, there's laundry that I haven't folded, and it's been sitting there since 2 days ago that I haven't folded it yet. And I just look at it as a task I have to do. It becomes something that, is in the other room, and gee, I'd like to look at that. I don't remember it quite as well. And then it becomes, again, like an old friend you haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
Instead of something in the corner that's just sitting there going, you haven't finished me. You said you were going to finish me. Right.
Okay. That's an interesting approach. And that's one thing I will not do again. And that is the stitch for a deadline, stitch for a holiday. Nope.
Yeah.
Because it takes a certain fraction of the fun out of it right out of the gate. And then the closer the holiday gets, the less fun it is. And so I just, no, not anymore. If I do a Christmas thing, I'll do it. And when it's done, it'll be for whatever Christmas is coming up. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. This psychology of this stitching fascinates me. It really does. Well, I mean, it just really does. It's just an interesting thing that goes on. And we get to see through particularly Facebook, but also Instagram, we get to see so many versions of it and so many approaches that you really get a nice study of how people approach this hobby. And I think it's just fun and interesting to see.
I agree.
So there you have it. Yep. Yeah, the over-under, what did I say? May 1. I'm writing that down. May 1.
May 1.
Bendy over-under, May 1. I'm taking the under.
We're like manipulating people's lives.
Yeah, what fun is that, huh?
It's weird. It's a little weird, Gary, I have to say.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, I'm taking the under. You can, not participate or declare at any time, which you're taking.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'll take the other side. That's only sportsmanlike to do.
Okay. I think I've watched enough of her FlossTube videos that I know pretty much how this is going to go. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think I do. Yep. So I wanted to ask you, Laura Mina from Winterthur, and Beth, no, I've still not purchased a book. Laura Mina, we were talking about storing products, and this is unfair because I didn't prompt you on this, but storing products in plastic. And, off-gassing, plasticizer, that's what happens to plastics over time is the plasticizer leaches out, and that's when they get rigid and brittle and break.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was talking about that her preference is the Sterlite products, but mainly polyethylene and polypropylene, because they are the more stable storage plastics. Mm-hmm. And so I was curious to what you knew about that in terms of plastics and leaching. And it's unfair because it's really not directly your field. But,
it is kind of. We do quite a lot with plastic stability, actually.
Yeah, and that's why I was wondering, because you got to store all your products in plastic. So
yes, we do.
Yeah.
So really, I mean, I could look it up, but so versus any other kind of. No, I'm about to. I would worry exactly zero about plastics leaching into products because there's no chemical reactions going on there. If you had so I'll use a point of reference, okay? If you were storing something like an acid or base in polyethylene, something like that, then I would worry because that's something that can eat at plastic. But a thread is inert, and putting it in a plastic that's inert is really not going to do anything. And if you need evidence of that, look at any landfill. And that plastic is there, and it's not going anywhere. I don't know what's going to leach out that's going to affect your threads at all. I really wouldn't worry about that in the slightest. Another piece of just anecdotal evidence is how many police departments store evidence in evidence bags that are made out of polyethylene. That would be all of them. So I really wouldn't worry too much about that at all. And we and every company that stores anything in plastic do package integrity testing, where we store all kinds of liquids that, if anything, would exchange more with what it is in contact with. So something like a cream or lotion or a shampoo or perfume or anything like that, it goes into a package and then it sits there. And what we do is we stress it. So we stress it with light, we stress it with heat, we stress it with freezing and thawing and all those kinds of things for long periods of time to see if anything will happen. And very, very, very rarely does anything happen. And only with things that are pretty caustic or reactive. So things like organic solvents or, like I said, strong acids or bases. Things like thread, nothing is going to happen. So I really wouldn't worry about that at all.
Okay, so I can just check that off my list because we store. I mean, I have a ton of thread in plastic bags, and I just over time in an enclosed environment, I just have concern about that. But I guess
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my only worry, if I was going to worry about anything being stored in plastic, my worry would be gas exchange and mold and mildew. So if you happened to have stored them in a mildewy or moldy area and there was moist air that got trapped in there with some, with some mold spores and they got mildewy, that would be my only concern. But if anything, I would prefer to store them in plastic because that would prevent that from happening. So if you store your threads in a basement, it's better to put them in plastic because they'll keep them dry as opposed to not storing them in plastic. So to me, putting them in a plastic sealed Ziploc-y kind of bag is better because it's going to prevent that from happening.
Yeah. Okay, so pros and cons, but 90% pros then.
I wouldn't worry about it. I think that you're going to have more problems from threads just degrading. And I mean, I have threads for forever. I have fabrics that my great grandmother stored in plastic and, or things that my grandmother made or my great grandmother made. And they've been stored in plastic for years and years and nothing happened. If anything, the threads themselves just eventually start to fall apart, but it's not from the plastic. It's just because they're natural fibers that just only last for so long. But I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Okay, I'll check that out. But that the analogy of plastic in a trash dump and obviously in the ocean is excellent because it never breaks down. So what am I worried about? Yeah.
I mean, if we really wanted to, we could ask like a conservator or somebody like that. But, and there's always, when you frame things, you always want to use the acid fast papers and all of those stuff. But for working threads, for your lifetime, nothing's going to happen to those threads. If you're planning on, conserving those threads for the use of your great grandchild, maybe. But, for the lifespan of the threads that you're going to be using, I wouldn't worry about it in the slightest.
Okay. Wanted to make sure we got that talked about. That's going to be it. We're going to just end it. Our sick bodies are going to end it for us.
Fair enough.
Sunday, Mary Corbet comes back. Looking forward to that. And thanks for listening, and we'll be back next Wednesday.
Take care.